Iorana e maeva. Hello and welcome in the Tahitian language. Uh, Tahiti is a destination that's very, very close to my heart. And you'll see why. I'll show you a few pictures as to why in just a moment. But just to start, I want to introduce my new venture. A lot of you will be familiar with my work previously at Tourism New Zealand, and then most recently at Hello World USA, where I looked after a number of different brands there. The pandemic threw up a whole lot of different things, and so I found myself wanting to tell the true and authentic story of the Pacific as I know it, and to make a meaningful change in the world by highlighting the voices of the locals and the communities that rely heavily on tourism. And so Pacific Storytelling was born. And our mission is to help educate the travel trade. And we offer our services free of charge. We have a free cultural sensitivity training program, which is available for you on our website, pacificstorytelling.com. And that covers a whole range of educational resources, including how to be more socially conscious and aware when you're traveling, how to recognize Indigenous people when you're traveling, and the importance of the South Pacific in the travel landscape. We interview experts locally. We strive to find the most authentic source, and we bring that information and all of that knowledge directly to you. And most recently, we launched our Destination Partners program this year, and our inaugural destination partner is Tahiti Islands Travel, who we will be talking with today. So, Tahiti is a special place for me personally, and some of you, if you follow me on social media, will know that I was lucky enough to head down there in November, late November, to marry the man of my dreams, the Viking, also known as Blake. And we had a very, very COVID-friendly elopement down there. This particular image is from the private lagoon in the St. Regis in Bora Bora. And we really felt the mana, the spirit, the essence of Tahiti there. Tahiti is a beautiful place for a number of reasons, and we're going to go into detail with some of them, but it's a very accepting place, especially if you're of the LGBT. That's something that from the Polynesian culture is definitely accounted for many, many generations, and also more recently as well. So Tahiti is a welcoming place and a place of immense beauty, and it's my pleasure today to share that with you as well. Just putting my details up in case I don't see you again, or if you don't, just putting my details up anyway. Hello at pacificstorytelling.com if you need to get in contact with me more specifically, but I'm not the star of the show today. The star of the show is Tahiti Islands Travel, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague Merehani Paka, who is based in Papeete down in Tahiti. Merehani, are you there?
I am. Yarana, everyone. I think I'm very overwhelmed by everything that you said. And congratulations on your wedding. But yes, so Tahiti Islands Travel was created about 6 years ago now, almost 6. But the idea was really to concentrate on private and exclusive experiences. Over the years, we have seen that special requests, high-end itineraries and programs were handled by DMCs that were doing pretty much everything from the regular budget itineraries to a more detailed and customized programs, and there was a gap really because you cannot possibly do budget and high end at the same time. So we created this agency to cater to these kinds of experiences that our clients, our visitors are looking for. I guess also it's important to mention that Tahiti Islands Travel, even though it is a new company, and I know many advisors are reluctant to work with new companies. I understand that. But Tahiti Islands Travel is part of probably the largest economy group in French Polynesia. In addition to a lot of businesses such as supermarkets and things like that, Tahiti Islands Travel is also part of the group that owns the Conrad Bora Bora Nui, Le Méridien Bora Bora, who's undergoing some renovations, the Kiaura in Rangiroa, and recently our owner purchased Sofitel Yaura, Moorea. He's currently working on reopening the Hilton in Tahiti. It will be reopened as a Hilton in Tahiti, but just to give you an idea of the group that we're part of, and especially to reassure about our financial stability. And even, these days with the pandemic, we have had some of our current partners who are worried about getting refunded, about getting their money back because some of their clients had canceled. All of this, we took care of that, but I have to say that our financial backbone helped us a lot. So in addition to that, we're also members of Traveler Made, and we're an exhibitor at Pure Life Experiences. We have there are no other DMCs that are members of Pure, and to us it really is important because it shows that we have been recognized as an entity here in Tahiti who can provide experiences out of the ordinary. Voila, for our story. And then our team. So most of our team, we have an average of 15 years of experience as travel creators, especially here in Tahiti. We have worked with all of the partners that we work with currently. We have a team of 4 travel curators. One of them has had some experience in England, in London, as a concierge. Then she was missing home too much. She came back. And then we have 3 other ones that worked in larger inbound operators here in Tahiti. So here we are. We really are working at getting new experiences. Now, I'm not saying we have hotels that do not exist that you can buy only through us, but it's really about how we deliver the experience. Just for information, not that you care, but I'll tell you anyways. I was working at Tahiti Travel for years. And when I entered Tahiti, when I came to Tahiti Islands Travel, I really saw that the main concern about all of these curators that you see was really to find the best partner. The best partner is not the one that would have the cheapest rate, but it's really the one who will provide the experience that our clients are looking for. And it's not always easy in Tahiti because we don't necessarily have everyone that know or understand luxury, but then many times we've had to direct and to lead our partners to get what we wanted. So as Ren said earlier, Tahiti, it is a complex destination. We have over 100 islands. We have to pick the right island for the right clients. We have to pick the right hotel, the right resort, the right experience for the right visitors. We have been successful most of the time. And not everybody is always happy, but we've always had happy visitors and happy partners. And we are just about 5 years old. We don't have a lot of partners, but the partners that we have know us, and they know that they can count on us to provide them with what they need for their clients. We have organized a visit of the director of the Le Prado Museum from Spain, and you know, a man who's very into details and beauty, not like we see it. We've had to go out of our comfort zone to provide him with what he wanted. It's a daily challenge, but it's a challenge that we love, and we're very, very happy that more and more advisors trust Tahiti Islands Travel, and we will continue to answer everybody's requests to meet our visitors' expectations.
Yes, I love that, Merehani. And, you know, for those of you on the call who haven't been to Tahiti, it's a destination where you have to have an expert guiding your hand. Remember, Tahiti, as Mere said, is over 100 different islands. And so sometimes to get from one hotel to the next, you're going to need 2 or 3 different types of transportation. And, you know, there's a lot of moving parts. And that's why having a in-destination partner, an on-site partner, really is helpful for a destination like Tahiti, because it's very easy to get it wrong. Very, very easy. And the pictures on the internet sometimes are very misleading, and sometimes they can be a very pretty picture, but you know, that particular property's air conditioning just doesn't work, and we all know that, but they don't put that on the internet. So it's that kind of stuff that's really, really important. So that's why I would recommend working with Tahiti Islands Travel. The question is then, who is that type of traveler, and why would they want to go to Tahiti? And I think that there is something for everyone. It is seen as a romance destination, and that's for obvious reasons. The scenery and the above and below the water is absolutely breathtaking. But there is something for everyone. There is something more than just a honeymoon and weddings. You know, there's a very there's a very beautiful culture in Tahiti as well that has a story that just is very, very interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Ren. I did want to mention that coming to Tahiti Islands Travel really opened my eyes again as to what the discerning traveler is actually looking for. Before, I'm sorry, I was talking about my experience before and my experience now, but when I was in my previous position, we had clients who were looking for the best deal. And of course, you know, we know where that leads us, because we will be working more on finding the right rate instead of finding the right experience. Well, at Tahiti Islands Travel, we're looking at providing the right experience. Culture, for example, why Tahiti? Culture is a very important part. And with Air Tahiti Nui, because of course a lot of our travelers are flying Air Tahiti Nui, but the culture starts when you board with the Tiare Tahiti flower. And then when you land in Tahiti, you have already a band that welcomes guests at the entrance of the terminal. So we have a Tahitian band, we have another young lady that offers more flowers, and then we greet with the flower lace. That's one side of the culture, but it is much more than that. There is the hospitality, and then we share, people want to learn about the dances. We want to, a lot of our travelers actually leave Tahiti with a tattoo. That's part of the culture. Culture is also about sharing what we know. What we do here at Tahiti Islands Travel is that we select the experiences according to the guide. Shark and ray watching or a Circle Island tour will be the same. Truly, it's the same. You visit, you go around the same island, you see same trucks, you see same rays, but then there's what will make the difference. It's the life that will give the tour. It's the experiences that will give life to the tour. We visited recently the Tahiti Museum with two different persons. One was doing the tour in French and the other one was doing the tour in English. And you know what? The feelings are different. When we did the tour in French, the girl who's Tahitian, she was telling about the origins of our people, what they did before, how they were using specific tools in specific situations. So that was one way that's how she brought life to the museum. When we did the tour in English, the girl is Tahitian too, but she was educated in Hawaii. But when she gave us a tour, it was about cosmogony. It was about Tahiti in the universe, our ancestors within the universe. So we each have a different way of presenting the same product, and the culture is shown according to how the guide presents it. But also in terms of culture, we have the words, we have a feeling. You know, Tahitians, I'm not saying we're dumb, but we don't really work with our brain. We work with our heart, and that's part of our culture too. So in addition to just dances, weaving, this culture is to be experienced as you go from an island to the other. One last point is Tahiti is very, especially on the European market, the biggest competitor to Tahiti would be the Maldives or the Seychelles. I have to say they're beautiful places, beautiful resorts, very luxurious. They have brands that we will never have in Tahiti probably. But a lot of those who have visited both places, Seychelles and Maldives and Tahiti, would say the main difference is the people. And with the people comes the culture. So it is a very entire part of the experience that you get in the islands.
Exactly, and that's as little as saying Iorana, hello, or Maururu, thank you. You can't get away from it. It's there, and it's very special, and culture is what unites us. And that's why the focus of Tahiti Islands Travel on the culture is why Pacific Storytelling has partnered with Tahiti Islands Travel, is because of that focus. I want to add one more thing to this slide about why Tahiti, and as someone who's been there recently, I felt completely safe. And I know you can't really go out and promote things and say, oh, it's completely safe, but in terms of a destination that has put in place structures and processes for a COVID world, Tahiti is it. So one thing that we forgot to mention earlier is that Tahiti definitely is open and has been open since July. However, there's been restrictions in terms of having to return a negative PCR test. That's a COVID PCR test, not the rapid one, but very, very reliable COVID test. That's taken 3 days before you leave, and then you take another test which is given to you at the airport that you administer yourself 4 days after you arrive. And so you have the assurance that you are looking after your own health, but also the health of those around you as well. So from my perspective, I found that very, very comforting and world leading, because breaking news, what you may not know quite yet, and that isn't yet confirmed, but the Wall Street Journal reported this morning that the US is looking to implement testing prior to arrival back into America for both citizens and visitors. So that's a new regulation that will likely be coming into force around the 26th of January. So this is breaking news that you see me looking at my phone. That's an alert I just got on my phone. So 26th of January, negative test required before arrival back into the states. And that's something that Canada's already implemented as well. But, you know, it's very easy to get there from the West Coast in particular. It's an 8-hour flight. I've always found that to be, you know, it feels like just going on a transcon flight from LA to New York or something. It's not very far at all, but you've got a full service carrier, you know, lovely food, and a very, very comfortable trip down there. Now, again, this is the section where we're going to give you your 101 of Tahiti, but we're going to do this in a little bit of a different way than usual. We talked about our Tahiti Islands fam trip, which will be coming up in March. And so this fam trip is the 101 fam trip. And so we're going to walk you through where we're going so that you get an idea of what these islands offer, but also so you get an idea of what the fam trip will look like as well. So this trip will be leaving on the evening of March the 9th. They are evening flights from LA down to Tahiti and arriving back on the 17th. We will be covering 4 major islands, and these are your staples. These are the main islands that you'll need to know, and the main islands that you'll be selling when you sell Tahiti as well. So we'll just dive right in. The island, you know, obviously we're talking about Tahiti, but the island of Tahiti itself, where the international flights arrive into, is the largest island in French Polynesia. It's where the majority of the commerce and shopping opportunities are. It's where the administration is and all of that kind of stuff. And so quite a common misconception is that it's a place just to get in and get out. And we want to encourage you to scratch a little bit more beneath the surface. There is a lot to see on the island of Tahiti that just doesn't get prominence. So for example, you can go 4x4s off-roading and, you know, see the interior of the island. And, you know, Merihani, what other kind of things are there to see on Tahiti?
There's diving. There's the peninsula of Tahiti, which is about 2 hours ride from Papeete. Very untouched sceneries, very also cultural places. And many times when we have guests coming back from the islands, they get to go around the islands just for the day before they leave. Most of the time they say, if we had known, we would have stayed here longer. But it is a problem because Tahiti has much more to offer than just one night. You can go to the market. You can, well, you know, going to the market is not just to shop. And actually, I would not necessarily recommend shopping there. But then at least, you know, to have an experience with the locals, to see how we live. Traveling, I think, is not just to be in a nice resort and to go to the beach, but it's also to learn about other cultures and to mingle with people. Also, I wanted to say that Tahiti is really the first stop, and that's where everything starts. You know, with the welcome, with the transfers and everything that starts in Tahiti, most of the time will have an effect on how the rest of the trip goes. But yes, as Ren said, you sleep in a hotel. And then we have museums. I mean, the museums that we have here are not as big as what we have, what you would have in where you're from. But then we still have a lot to share about our origins, about the traditions. And when you understand that, you get a better understanding also of the whole culture and the whole people.
Exactly. So that is the island of Tahiti, and there are a number of accommodation options. And I just want to say, you know, we stayed at the Intercontinental Hotel when we were there, and it's right on the water. It's got a beautiful view out to Moorea, and you're very close to the airport. And so it technically is an airport hotel, but it's the nicest airport hotel I've ever stayed at. So
yeah, and I have to say, it's the #1 hotel that we sell on Tahiti. the intercon.
Mhm. So then we move to the island of Moorea, and Moorea you can see from the island of Tahiti. So it is one of the few islands that actually is accessible by ferry from the mainland. Obviously, you can fly if you want to, but it's a relatively short ferry ride across there, and it's a high island. So you have a number of high mountain peaks which you can go exploring on a 4x4 off-road safari, and you go and visit the pineapple plantations. Moorea is famous for having the sweetest pineapple in the world. And then as a part of that, you obviously go rum tasting and go on up these high mountains and look at the view of the mountain of the islands as well. So that's my experience of Moorea, but of course our local expert Miri will have more to add.
Yeah, for us locals, Moorea really is the island where we go to unwind, because it's just 30 minutes from the fair from Tahiti. But Moorea is what you expect from an island holiday. You can drive around the island, so you have some water experiences. You can go on a lagoon tour. You can have a picnic on the motu, which are the islets. There are small little restaurants around the island. You can, as Ren said, go inland on those quads. It's very laid back. And like a 5-night stay is not too long, because there's always something to do on the water, on land. Even they have some cute little shops. And I have to say, even I would go to Moorea for shopping, because they have more choices. And truly, the prices are even more interesting than on Tahiti. But I would have to say, though, that Moorea would not be the place for a gourmet experience. They have very good restaurants around the island, but if you're looking for a more refined gourmet experience, it's not the place for you. It's going to be either Tahiti or Moorea, or Bora Bora. Sorry, but it's fun for families, even just for couples. Yeah, I really like it.
A little bit more fast paced, a little bit more adventurous than some of our other islands. So it's what you're looking for. And also this is where you leave from to go and visit the whales. Is that right?
Oh, yes, that's right. The whales between July and October. This would be one of the best places, Tahiti and Moorea, in fact. But most of the time it will be done in Moorea. Yeah.
Bora Bora. And I've had someone explain it to me before. Like, this is the Beverly Hills of the South Pacific. Well, move over Beverly Hills, in my opinion. When you're flying in there, every shade of blue, every shade of green you can see. And I'm not exaggerating, and I know it sounds really cliche, but it is breathtakingly beautiful. And so you have the island of Bora Bora itself, and then you have surrounding the lagoon, you have the motu, or the smaller islets, if that's the correct term. And a number of those motu are where the resorts are situated. So the resorts in Bora Bora are very exclusive. Quite often, it's just you and the rest of the hotel guests who are enjoying the facilities and the private beaches and the private lagoons, because it's on its own motu as well. But Bora Bora, it's the ultimate for the honeymoon couple, the overwater bungalow. They do it very, very well. The bungalows are sold for a number of different categories. And this is, again, what I mean about needing an expert to hold your hand. An overwater bungalow is not just an overwater bungalow. You have overwater bungalows with a mountain view, overwater bungalows with a sunset view. And each client's going to want to have something different. You also have beach bungalows as well, and that's for a different type of client altogether. So you have to understand the needs of your clients in Bora Bora to know which property is best for them and what type of accommodation at that property is best for them as well.
Mm.
Bora Bora
Yeah.
is famous for the lagoon, and the most famous excursion is the Shark and Ray tour. I just did that when I was down in November, and we were fortunate enough, Merihani organised for us to have a photographer. And we had our own private boat for the day. They picked us up at the pontoon at the resort at the St. Regis. We go out and snorkel and find tiny little sharks. And then you go and find stingrays to come up to you. And then you go out to the deeper ocean and you see the bigger sharks before coming in to have our own private traditional lunch, which is, beautiful food. How would you describe the lunch, Miri?
It has some local stuff, like you would have the poisson cru. They would use the local tubes, like the taro, uru, the breadfruit tree. They make also coconut bread. After you've swum with fish or sharks or rays, you do get hungry. And then you have a grilled barbecued chicken or fish or meat, but it is very diverse. And what you have to know also is that we can customize the meals according to the diets clients have. But yeah, it's depending on who is doing the tour, but many times we would have clients not asking for champagne or wine because the sun would be too strong during the day. But no, it's a very filling lunch. And if you want, upon request, we can also organize for lobster to be provided during lunch, grilled.
So that's the most common type of activity in Bora Bora, is to get out on the water. But this is a destination where you're really trying to enjoy the resort as well. And
yeah. Yeah, I do want to say that, I was born and raised in Tahiti. The first time I went to Bora Bora was just about a decade ago. And as Ren said, it is truly beautiful. I was born and raised in Tahiti. I had visited all the islands except for Bora Bora. I had been to the Tuamotu, and the lagoon was really nice. But when I landed in Bora Bora, I was amazed at the blue of the lagoon. And it's an island girl telling you that. And every time I go, I'm still enchanted and mesmerized by the beauty of that lagoon. So if it does that to me, a local girl, I can imagine what it can do to our visitors. And definitely Bora Bora is the highlight of many of our guests.
For sure. And so one thing to remember, everyone, is that if you were traveling, if you're incorporating Tahiti and Moorea and Bora Bora, you want to do it in that order.
Yes.
Bora Bora is the apex of it all. Apart from, there's a couple more exclusive properties, and we'll get into that in future webinars, like the Brando on Titi Aroa. But also, I would say Taha'a is also on that kind of vein as well. For me, the Taha'a is, you can also see the islands from Bora Bora. It's luxury, but it's barefoot luxury. It's where the local influence is much more prevalent. I find Bora Bora is very French, very champagne and foie and all of that stuff. Okay, great, love it. However, if you want the Polynesian luxury, the barefoot luxury, it's Taha'a. And Taha'a is famous the world over for its Tahitian vanilla. And this vanilla grows there on the island, and you can literally smell it as you're walking around. It's just, there's a sweetness to the air. And
Yeah.
I, again, as a part of my wedding, went to stay at the Taha private island resort. Beautiful overwater bungalows. And we did a full day jet ski tour of Taha. And so basically, you're getting on a jet ski and you're stopping in at a pearl farm. And you get off and you go and see the lady who is working with the oysters to get the pearls out of them. And they teach you all about the water culture and all of that stuff, and walk you through the whole process of those pearls and the life of those pearls. And that's fascinating in itself. But then you get back on your jet ski and you go a little bit more way around the island, and then you're stopping in at a vanilla plantation, and they take you up and to see the orchid growing and how they dry the beans and what they do with the beans and all of that kind of thing. And then you get back on your jet ski and you go another way around the island, and you're stopping in at the rum factory, and they're talking about how they're using the sugar cane to make the rum, and they're using the vanilla to influence that as well. And it's very, I felt like a pirate, because you've just got all this treasure stuffed into your jet ski that you've been picking up along the way. So I call it the island of treasures. It's quite a fun day, you know, vanilla and rum and jet skis. I don't know how you can really top that. Do you have anything else to add about Taha, Merihani?
No, I love everything that you said, and I would, well, to me, my favorite resort is Le Taha Island Resort. It's member of Brilliant Chateau, but to me, it's my favorite because it's very Polynesian. You know, when you get there, you know where you're at, but there's a story behind Le Taha. When the resort was built, it was inspired by the canoes. Our ancestors traveling canoes, and so they have reminders of this all throughout the resort. And the Taha to us, to us is Bora Bora 50 years ago. It is very authentic in a sense that it's very untouched. Not so many visitors, but you do get that feel of authenticity. And the last thing I'd like to say about the Tahitian vanilla is that it's probably the most expensive vanilla in the world, because it has to be first pollinated by hand. And then the pods that you see have to be massaged every day so that the beans scattered all throughout the pod. The smell is very strong. And I use it for baking. So if we have bakers here, we will be we'll be happy to provide you with some Tahitian vanilla, and I'm serious. We will mail you some.
I got some when I was down there, and I've already used it all. I need more, so I'll take you up on that one.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. We'll be happy to mail you some for your participation to this webinar today. Voila, that's what I wanted to say about the Oh, and the last thing is, most of the pearl farms are in the Tuamotu, because the weather conditions are the best for pearl farming. But then you will find some black pearl farms in Taha most of the time. In Taha, maybe one or in the Eakea, but Taha would be the only other place where you would have pearl farm in the Society Islands.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that, you know, it's part of the fam going to see the islands of Tahiti, Moorea, Bora Bora, Ta'a. I mean, that's a very comprehensive introduction to selling the islands of Tahiti. So again, those dates were
from the 9th through the 17th.
The 9th through the 17th, exactly. And I'm just going to interrupt you, Merihani, before I hand it back to you. I have a number of people asking about the negative testing for the USA. again, I heard that this morning via the Wall Street Journal, and it sounds like that will be coming into force on the 26th of Jan. So as soon as we get more information, we'll include that in our follow-up email as well. But Tahiti is very much set up to do that already for the Canadian market and the European market. So we can figure that out. Merihani, you know, we've talked quite a bit about what makes Tahiti Islands travel different from our competitors, and I do think there is still more to say about how you know, how the exclusive, you know, especially in a COVID-19 world, how being private and exclusive really is an asset right now. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that point of difference?
No, I want to. We promote private transfers already from the beginning. When our guests arrive at the airport, we don't have like a big board. Each guest that arrives have their own driver waiting for them at the airport. The transfers we provide on Tahiti and Moorea are on a private basis. We have a team in the office that calls the guests when they arrive. We follow them throughout their stay. We are reachable 24/7, and when I say reachable, when the phone rings, you're talking to one of the designers, one of the curators. You're not talking to someone who's going to tell you, okay, we'll take care of this tomorrow when the office opens, because it's the whole idea of why Tahiti Islands Travel was created. It was really to attend to discerning travelers. Also, we choose the experiences that we want to promote. We receive a lot of suppliers coming from the outer islands to present their products to us. But sometimes we may sound a bit obnoxious, but because our main concern is satisfaction of our guests, sometimes we have to turn down some of those suppliers because they just do not match what we're looking for, what you are expecting from us, and what your clients are expecting from you. It is a challenge, I have to say. It is a challenge every day because luxury is relative, but everybody say they can do luxury, but the truth is it's not true. So I think having someone on location to find those special gems, as Ren refers to, is a challenge. Now, I'm not saying that we know everything, that we know everyone, because there are some people we don't know, but at least I can say that we choose who we want to work with, and that will make the difference. I'm always, you know, we've had one time we had missed a service. We didn't miss a whole service, but there was a little glitch, and clients were not very happy. They were from Russia. Right away, it was 9 p.m. We met them at the hotel, and for some reasons, it comforted them, and so now they're coming every couldn't come in 2020 because of COVID. They're coming again in April. And so we're not just catering to travelers or to clients. We are humans, and no man is an island, and we are building relationships, not just with you as a travel advisor, but also with the people who visit us. Just so you know, tourism is a very important part of the Tahitian economy. And to be successful in tourism, you have to be very passionate. You have to be very patient. We're not a big team, but we have a small team of passionate people, and that will make the difference.
I agree, Merihani. And you know, as you say, luxury is relative. It really is. One person's version of luxury is different from the next. And it takes a real expert to know and identify that as well. One thing, you know, that I found also that sets you guys apart is your airport services. Um, so when we arrived, and I've had some questions coming through to do a run through of our wedding. So
Yes.
next webinar will be follow Ren's wedding. Um, so that we will do that. But when we arrived into Tahiti in the morning, we were met by a representative who took care of our documentation and took us through a fast track all the way to the front of the line. We met the immigration officials. They stamped our passports. Our porter was then taking us to the carousel, picked up our luggage, and we were escorted all the way through the airport to connect onto our domestic flights as well. So that was something that was really quite lovely. You're arrived into paradise. It's quite warm, so having a nice, fresh, cold towel that's scented. It's got a beautiful scent of flowers. You're given your flower lei on arrival. You know, it just feels very special.
Yeah, yeah, it does. You know, first impression counts. So we have this option of the fast track. It would be our I wouldn't say ordinary, but it's really the basic service upon arrival. But then we also have the possibility of booking, especially for families or bigger parties or very important guests. We have the VIP lounge. We meet them in the lounge while representative of the airport is taking care of all of the immigration papers and collecting the luggage. So in the meantime, we are with the guests in the VIP lounge. You can have some refreshments. I mean, it's not very elaborate. They have water, sparkling water, and juices. But then we can provide, if you want us to bring wine or champagne, we can of course organize that. But at least while the immigration formalities are being taken care of, we are with the guests. We go through the itinerary, but it's also a way for us to meet our visitors and to exchange. So voilà. Fast track is a basic, but we can also do VIP lounge.
And then, you know, as you say, your team are true concierge. You know, they are able to pull together a whole lot of different things that other tour operators in North America won't be able to organize these types of things for them. So a point of difference in some of your additional services are, you know, like booking tickets for concerts and shows, organizing restaurant reservations, babysitters, hairdressers, all of that kind of thing. The high touch, the little things that make a big difference.
Yeah. Sorry, Ren, just recently, well, not last year, I mean, not in 2020 because we didn't have a lot of visitors, but the previous year, we had guests who were on the Paul Gauguin, and they wanted to have a Christmas tree. So the advisor called us and they're like, okay, guests would like to have a Christmas tree in their cabin. And we were like, oh, okay. You know, it's very unusual for a request. But here we were looking for a small Christmas tree to put in the cabin. And of course, you know, to board Paul Gauguin, we have to provide a lot of paperwork. We have to have a passport, make a special request, blah, blah, blah. But then, yeah, voila. So that's your concierge. You want a Christmas tree? You give us the colors. We will get it for you and have it set in your cabin or in your room. So yeah, it's one of the things that we can do for our mutual guests.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. And another thing that I love is the private, you have some expert guides in like surfing and diving and things like that people can organize an expert to teach them.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And of course, the experts are usually champions from Tahiti and also international. You've probably heard about Emana Bombastuler, who's very well known in the surfing world. So we work with him and other champs. We work with doctors, anthropologists for our tours, especially in the museum, because like I said earlier, the museum is the same for everyone. What you will see, I mean, we don't have a special museum, but we can give a life to what you see, and everything will depend on who's taking you around. And it's the same, you know, the St. Regis is the same for everyone. We don't have a specific category for us, but then the way we will present it to you is going to make the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that is, we've covered a lot of ground in just under an hour, and thank you everyone for sticking with us. It's paradise, and I think you can all see why I've absolutely fallen in love with the people and the place that is Tahiti. And I encourage you to ask your questions, put them through now while we have a few minutes to spare. If there was any particular questions that you had. What I will say is we will send a follow-up email to everyone with the recording and also with a copy of this presentation and with further details about the FAM. That FAM trip again in March, we will we'll start the communication process with all of you. If that's something that you think you'd be interested in, we would be interested in talking to you about that too. And I firmly believe if you haven't been there before, it'll just make sense. It sounds like a hard destination to sell until you've been there, until you've seen it, until you understand how to get around. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Ren, can I add something?
Mm.
It's true that Tahiti is not an easy place to sell. People say don't understand it, they say it's far, blah, blah. But then when you come on the female, you will understand the logistics of how it works. But I did want to tell you why we chose to work with storytelling. The Islands of Tahiti has a very within the Polynesian community. We have here in the Islands of Tahiti, the island of Raiatea, and to all of the Polynesians, the migration started from there. But for us at Tahiti Islands Travel, it's important that the roots, the culture remains strong, and we want to be the owners of the products that we sell. We want to own the experiences that we share with you. We're not just there to sell a beautiful resort, but again, we are there to share a culture. And we have found this with Pacific Storytelling. It's about letting the locals tell you the story. We will not let anyone else tell us the story of what you should be experiencing in islands. If you are working with Tahiti Islands Travel, it's because you trust us, and you trust that we will provide your clients and our visitors with the experiences they're looking for. To us, culture and tradition is very important, and especially in those days where identity is important throughout the world. And thank you, Ren, for trusting us also and for accepting to partner with us.
Oh.
Marururoa.
Marururoa, thank you very much. Well, thank you for your time, Mary. I know it's early down there in Tahiti. Thank you everyone for logging on. I'll just give it one more second to see if there's a couple more questions coming through. Not really. I think it's all just everyone's in love with Tahiti. So that's good news, Mary Honey. We'll send you the follow-up email with the recording. And then we can start those conversations with everyone as well. But thank you, everyone. Marururoa. Have a good day.
Maruru, Nana.